A large part of starting your own backyard homestead is going to be adding in your own animals. And whether that be quails coming out from quail eggs or hatching out your own chickens, a large part of the process is going to be taking these little guys once they've hatched and actually adding them into a brooder. And a brooder is going to be a warm area that you can really start these chicks out in. This is going to be similar to basically a nursery for your little chicks, keets if they're guinea fowl, or baby quail. Any other type of poultry that you're going to be adding to your farm is really going to need a brooder to get started. And when you're going out and researching, it's really hard to understand whether you should just go out and purchase a pre-made brooder. It has everything that you would ever want, or if you should just create your own homemade brooder. And today we're going to go through the pros and cons of each. We're going to be breaking down our brooders in 5 different ways of buy versus build. And we've used both one that we've made as well as one that we've purchased. We're going to be comparing it to the hatching time brooder. For today's comparisons, we're going to be using this hatching time brooder that we got. It is actually created in the United States, and they're a really great company. They do a lot of different setups for anyone that's looking to start with quail, rabbits, chickens, or a few other starter birds. I think they create really great automated systems, and we've actually talked a lot about just the unboxing of this, different videos on the pros and cons, as well as some of their other products. So I'll link those down below. But for the comparisons today, we're going to be talking about this actual brooder. We're going to go through all the details that we have in comparison to the brooder that we created, which we're going to show in just a bit. In regards to price, this brooder came in at $220 plus shipping and handling. So with the cost of inflation or anything of the likes, I'm sure this could have fluctuated in price or charges, but I thought it wasn't too bad. It is a larger brooder box. So this unit does have 2 doors. It has a nice large feeding area, and you could fit a good amount of quail or bantam chicks. They also are good for any types of pheasants or other types of birds that you might be putting in a brooder. So really great capabilities there where you can switch up the different animals that they do have in it. The hatching time will be compared today against the brooder that we built. Unfortunately, it is in use for some of our quails that we are brooding out, but I'll be showing some visuals, so do not worry. I'm just using this plant instead, so you'll know what I'm talking about each. Now, for our build version, we used a plastic 118 quart bin that came at around $26. We then had recycled items around our house, which was wood and hardware cloth, so those were free. But if you're thinking of making this on your own, this is definitely something that you can pick up. We purchased a light fixture, a light bulb, and these came at $7 for the light bulb and $15 for the light fixture, for a total of $130.50 plus tax and any additional costs to run to the store. With the prices of gas, now it might be a little bit higher. And then we additionally added an inkbird, which has been a game changer for the brooder and something that I definitely suggest you pick up as well. What the inkbird is used for is it will actually help regulate the temperature. So you're able to plug in the heat light into the inkbird and then set a temperature. And once the inkbird reaches that temperature, it will turn off the light, let it kind of cool off, and then turn it back on. This is amazing for when you are brooding out your little chicks, especially in the warmer weather when it might be really warm during the day. It can help conserve any of the energy from the light, not overheat any of your babies, and then turn on at the night when the nights are cooler out, which has been something that we have used quite frequently with this setup. Now we have a whole breakdown of how we actually made this brooder, and I'll include a link down below for you to check out as well, so you can also make your own. This brooder box is listed as being great for quail, pheasants, bantam chicks, and partridge birds. So there is a large variety of different animals that you can be adding to this brooder. With the capabilities that you can change the temperature and heights of the water, it really does allow for a wider variety of animals that can be brooded in this box, which is really great. This brooder is definitely customizable, and depending on how big your flock is that you're going to be starting, you can even add to this brooder. And by add to, I mean you can change up the size of the container that you have it in. You can go from a plastic container to maybe a larger stock tank, which is what we have going on for our guinea fowl right now, although they're using the entire same setup as this plastic brooder box. What's amazing here is it can also be used for chicks of really any size, pheasant, quail, really any bird that you can think of. This is going to be a really great setup for. So it's going to be as great as you want it to be and can really customize towards the animal that you're using. This box is created by ABS plastic, which is honestly just a really strong plastic. What's great about it is it's going to be rust proof, so regardless of where you're keeping this brooder box, you do not have to worry about any rust. And you will probably notice that when you are brooding your chicks, it is going to get quite messy in there, but what is really great about this is when you are cleaning it, it's definitely really easy to clean. I was able to just use a power washer or really strong hose to get into all the corners and clean it out. Now it is a little dirty right now, so I'm definitely going to have to do that again, but really not that bad for the cleanup and is going to be able to withstand that test of time. Something that we did notice is that because it is made of plastic, some of the tubings did warp a little bit in regards to the changing from winter and summer. So something that you'll want to keep in mind as long as you're keeping animals in there and you're keeping a well warm area or the temperatures aren't changing too drastically, I don't see that there would be too many issues with this. But that is something that we came across when we were using our quail in here. The biggest features with creating your own brooder is going to be that you can truly customize it to be whatever you want. You can make it as big or as small as you want. You can make it take up as much space or as little space as you want. And you can use recycled goods around your house to really strike creativity and lower the cost. Now, another nice aspect of this is it's easy to clean. By using a plastic container, you're able to hose that off. It is not going to be rust proof because we are using hardwood cloth, although we have not gotten any rust from the animals that we've used. And we've had it for around a year and a half so far with zero issues. The first key feature that I really liked about this and made it probably the most appealing was the fact that it had a removable manure tray. Now, if you have brooded any animals in the past, being able to remove the manure is something that you don't usually see. You're usually just kind of piling things on top of it and it's starting to just build up below, but the smell does not go away. So being able to actually remove the waste of our animals was something that really attracted me to this, and that along with the easeability of cleaning this was like, this is great, I'm already hooked, I want it. Then automations like the automatic feeding system, the automatic drinking system were items that also really caught my eye and made me fall for this even more, because automations are going to save you so much time and energy on your homestead, and the more time and energy that you can get back, the more you can devote to your animals, your home, and just the betterment of everyone and everything in it. So those were really great features that definitely caught my eye. They also have a functionality where when the chicks are really little, you can actually have mats that come with this system. So as they grow up, you can remove those and it makes it so that the waste can drop down versus when they're smaller, they're feet won't really fall into the crevices at the bottom. The insulated design of the plastic was really nice because it keeps the heat locked in, although we did find that there is some ways that the heat can get out. So we actually kept this brooder inside during most of the process. If it was warmer weather, maybe we would have brought it outside, but definitely a cool feature there. And lastly, it wasn't too hard to build. There was nothing that I had to go out to Home Depot and purchase. All of the pieces were in the kit and we were able to assemble it in 45 minutes. Now, that was Chris and I assembling it. We didn't have too many issues. The directions were really clear and they have YouTube videos that you can watch to help walk you through the entire process. And I think something that you could do with your family or kids without any issues. Some of the more in-depth key features are going to be that it's going to be a lot lower of a cost because you can choose to recycle any of your materials and you can completely customize it for the animals that you want to be adding to your backyard homestead. While working with this brooder, there's definitely a few cons that we uncovered. Having started off using a brooder that we built ourselves, we were able to add a lot of different customizations for the type of animals that we are growing out in our house. And there's definitely some shortfallings that this brooder does not help out with. And I think it's just because it is a newer company. They're working on drilling out those kinks, and I'm sure in future iterations they will be added. But some of the cons that we found with this model was that some of it was a little cheaply built. When we received some of the pieces, because they're made of plastic and probably mass produced, some of them were just not cut the right way and broke. The company really was great, their customer service, and they were able to send me new pieces. So honestly, probably not a bad fault on them, just how the world works in manufacturing. So not too much of a struggle, but something to watch out for if you need to be in a timely fashion getting this ready for any chicks that you're hatching out. Another item is that you will need to assemble this. Just does not come pre-assembled. So if you're not good at assembling things, you just want something to get started with, this might not be the item for you because it did take us around 45 minutes to assemble. Additionally, we did notice that there were some flaws in the design because it is built for so many different types of birds and every bird is a little bit different. Quails are actually very, very tiny, and them going in here and having this whole feeder area built out for them, they're just too tiny. We had some quails actually escape, fall out in the middle of the night. We heard them chirping in our living room. Luckily, we did have this in our house because it was the winter when we hatched them out, and we were able to quickly get in and help out. And then we did block them off with some additional plastic that we had, but definitely a little scary because you could lose some little guys and just scary for them as animals. We also noticed that because of its size, if you really don't have a smaller chick and you have chicks that are more growing out but still not able to go outside in your bigger coop or in a pen that's allocated for them, this isn't gonna fit too many chicks in here. Really just a handful of chicks because it's not huge. So really for the smaller homesteaders looking to do a smaller flock or have larger amounts of quail. Another item that was hard for us was the temperature gauge is in Celsius. Being that this is an American company, we thought it would have been in Fahrenheit, and the temperatures were a little off. So we currently are using an Inkbird system on our built out brooder, and that allows us to really fine tune what exactly the temperature is going to be inside of it and how we want to change that. Another thing with this is the light is actually attached to the temperature gauge, which means that when you turn off the light, then the temperature is going to turn off as well, which you definitely do not want. So to help your birds regulate to different times of the day, it's hard to do with that. So we would actually unscrew the light bulb. We kept them in an area that did have sunlight coming in, so it really allowed them to get that fresh sunlight in there and understand the daylight, nighttime And we didn't even honestly use the light bulb functionality, so we didn't have to worry about turning that on and off. There are a few cons with building your own brooder. And the biggest one is probably going to be that you need to resource all of the different materials that you're gonna need for this brooder, and you're gonna have to actually go in and do the work here. Which, if you're not that handy, this might be something that you don't even want to go down the route of. And especially if you have kids or you're just really busy, then purchasing something that's already pre-made and easy to put together is going to be probably the simplest way to do this. Although when I was creating my breakdowns here, Chris actually said that this was very easy to create. You don't need too many skills, so this really shouldn't be a con, but I do want to put it out there for anyone that is coming across this and deciding, weighing their pros and cons in the building of this. Another con is going to be that it's really not as easy to clean. During the brooding of your chicks, you're really going to be just piling on clippings every week or when the bottom is a lot dirtier. So in comparison to the hatching time brooder, which is the waste can go into the bottom and you can clean out the manure tray, this is really just piling on top, and it's going to probably be a little bit smellier. If you do this brooder outside, which is where we usually keep this brooder, and we try not to use it inside because it does get quite smelly, then it probably won't be too much of a problem. When they're really small, maybe you could keep them inside and then move them outside. I also like that it's completely clear around the sides, so it does still hold in the temperatures, but it allows you to see that 360 view into the actual brooder and what's going on inside. In the end, whether you build or buy, it's just exciting that you're starting your own flock and you're getting to experience the whole life stages. There's pros and cons of each, and everyone's gonna have a different opinion of what is best for them. So I wish you the best of luck in your brooding, and if you wanna see more videos on both of these, I'll put some links on the side here so you can go ahead and view the differences between each and build them out on your own. But until next time, have a great one.